You and I already knew the White Sox were a bad team, but the Los Angeles Dodgers just showed how inferior the Sox are as LA swept Chicago's AL team. Let's discuss how they did it next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the Fansided Network. You can check out my written content at southsideshowdown.com. And also, I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Turn on those subscription notifications and also follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. Now, the Los Angeles Dodgers just left town with 3 wins over the Chicago White Sox, 2 of them in shutout fashion. The Dodgers showed not only that the White Sox are bad, but just how much of an inferior franchise they are. And I'll discuss how they did that in the first segment. Then The Athletic is reporting the White Sox have scouts checking out the Los Angeles Dodgers farm system, as LA might be interested in what the White Sox have to offer on the trade market. So let's look over who the Dodgers have in their system that could help be part of the Sox next non-inferior team if these two pull off a trade. And finally, old friend Chris Sale is pitching today for the Braves as Atlanta is in town for a makeup game. Let's discuss how the White Sox badly lost the deal they made last decade when they traded their former ace away to Boston. And this episode of Locked On White Sox is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Well, the Dodgers are another franchise that White Sox fans should be jealous of, and they keep showing the White Sox that you can act like a big market club and a small market franchise at the same time and get a huge return on your investment. What a novel concept. It's a crazy idea, I know. You know, the Dodgers had an owner that was embarrassing the franchise last decade. But once he sold the team, LA has been a consistent contender, a model franchise. They're winning the NL West. They won the World Series in 2020. Even though it was a shortened year, you still won the World Series. The Dodgers act like a large market behemoth, but they also operate like a small market team with their ability to draft and develop players. They are the complete franchise, and they showcase that in a 3-game set against the White Sox. The biggest free agent acquisition ever, Shohei Ohtani, crushed the White Sox in Game 2 and Game 3 after being silenced by Garrett Crochet in the first game of the 3-game set. He entertained last night's sellout crowd with a home run. He also belted one in Game 2. And think about it. The White Sox owner laughed at the idea of even pursuing Ohtani in free agency. He laughed at it. He laughed at a draw, a generational talent, and Jerry Reinsdorf even laughed at the idea that it was even laughed at the idea to even dream of Ohtani coming to the South Side. Think about that. Even the owner was like, yeah, right, he's not coming here. And yeah, right, I'm not going to pay the money, even though Ohtani's a draw and a generational talent, and I want a new stadium. You kidding me? You think I'm going to give that guy $700 million? Even though most of the money I just have to pay in the future? That's funny. That's a silly notion. Here's Paul DeYoung instead. And guess what? Jerry's going to probably do the same when Juan Soto's on the market, even though the Sox will have money to spend. They trade Luis Robert Jr. and turn down Yoan Moncada's option and Eloy Jimenez's option. They only have one guaranteed contract on the books. And they need a superstar player and a gate attraction because Jerry wants a new stadium. But he still has that old-fashioned view that players should not make more than the GDP of small countries, even though that is the going rate for superstar players. Hence why the White Sox do not have superstar players. They've got potential ones in Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert Jr., but they might be traded at the deadline. And Gavin Stone, drafted by the Dodgers in the 5th round in the 2020 draft, he pitched a complete game shutout last night. Absolutely dominated the White Sox lineup. Allowed just 4 hits and 1 extra base hit. The Dodgers rotation is beat up right now with injuries, and yet they're still very good. And they did it with drafting players. They got 3 of them in the starting rotation. However, Bobby Miller, Elk Grove Village native, gave up the only runs the pitching staff yielded in the series as he surrendered 3 runs on Tuesday. But otherwise, the Dodgers used their abundant farm system to trade for Tyler Glasnow. And then they signed veteran James Paxton to a cheap 1-year deal. And they also have Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler. They're on the IL. They might be back. And again, Kershaw, someone they drafted, same with Buehler. I mean, they draft and develop players, and then they use free agency to put them over the top. That is how you develop a consistent winner. Draft well, develop to build the foundation of your team, and then trade for vital pieces and spend big in free agency to put you over the top. All the things the White Sox do not do and did not do during their contention window. And that is why the White Sox are an inferior franchise. I mean, think about it. The Dodgers went out and got Andrew Freeman from the Tampa Bay Rays. And Andrew Freeman was the guy that put together the Tampa Bay Rays that are now competitive. He started it all. You know, they brought him in to run the place when they changed ownership. They thought big, went out and got a guy who turned the Rays into the 2008 American League champions, a team that beat the Sox to get there. The White Sox stuck instead of the White Sox when, Kenny Williams' tenure was starting to show some cracks. Instead of maybe thinking big, they just kept stucking with the 2 executives who could not function together. In Kenny Williams, they kicked him upstairs, and Rick Hahn, who I think did deserve a promotion, but why not think big? They didn't. And then when Jerry finally fired him, he just promoted Chris Getz without interviewing a single candidate. Just gave him the job. And Getz was behind a lot of these players not developing because he was the director of player development. And also, Getz came to the Sox from the Royals, who, yes, they won a World Series last decade, but it was more of a flash in the pan, not a consistent winner being built like what Freeman did in Tampa. And Freeman has built up a massive and impressive front office because, folks, good to great players, yes, they win. They win the championships. They make you a perennial contender if you keep getting them. But it takes a strong front office and good player development to get those players. And the Dodgers have that, and the White Sox do not. The Dodgers have a clear line of decision making. The White Sox have chaos. Andrew Freeman is in charge. You and I still don't have a clear idea if Getz is actually running the show. Is Jerry maybe running it? Or is Tony La Russa possibly running it? And it didn't help that Tony La Russa just had to do an interview to clarify he's not running things behind the scenes, even though some of his quotes hinted that, yeah, he actually is. And I talked about it on Tuesday's show. And think about how inferior the Sox were. The closest they came to being competitive against the Dodgers was on Tuesday night in the 5 2/3 innings I talked about on Tuesday's show from Garrett Crochet being competitive. That's how close the White Sox were to being competitive with the Dodgers. That was it. 5 2/3 innings and a little bit on Tuesday's game. The Sox had a 3-1 lead on the Dodgers on Tuesday, but they just could not pour on runs to keep up. And the Dodgers handed the Sox shutout loss number 11 on Monday and number 12 yesterday. Simply put, the Sox do not have the horses to run with the Dodgers. Not like you and I should have expected them to stick with the Dodgers, but that is the sad part. They just cannot run with these teams. You would at least hope that they'd be scrappy enough. Make the Dodgers earn it, and they didn't. This 39-game stretch of schedule ends today, thankfully, but the Sox have shown in this stretch that they are more than just not good enough to hang with the likes of the Yankees, the Orioles, the Brewers, or the Dodgers. And they should have even the Mariners, even though they should have swept them. What they showed is they're inferior. They're now 21-61 as they have gone 7-31 during this tough stretch of schedule, and they still have the Atlanta Braves left today. And you and I, hey, we knew this was going to be bad, especially when the owner laughs at the idea of going after the best player in free agency. And when the owner does that and keeps allowing this chaos to happen, guess what? You're going to have an inferior team. Well, if the Sox will not replicate the Dodgers, how they run things, they at least can continue to leverage the prospects they have by getting them via trades. The Dodgers are reported to have interest in guys like Crochet and Luis Robert Jr. The Athletic says the Sox are scouting LA's farm system. So let's take a look at the Dodgers farm system next on Locked On White Sox. Here at Locked On White Sox, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. And you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Do not let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Hey, I used to work in banking collections, and trust me, the IRS has the tools to follow through on what it can to recover the money it thinks you owe them. So don't mess around and don't go it alone. Use Tax Network USA. With over 14 years of experience and an A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below. And passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And the White Sox and Braves, they played an early season series where the final game was rained out. The makeup game is today. Chris Sale is starting for the Atlanta Braves. First pitch is set for 3:10 p.m. Central. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. And thank you for making the show your first listen. Lots of great White Sox podcasts out there, like Future Sox. Had James Fox on the show yesterday to talk about the MLB Combine, when the Sox draft prospects, or the prospects the Sox have and who they might draft can help them maybe establish a definitive competitive timeline. I had a lot of fun talking with James. Love talking to him. So I always suggest check out Future Sox and check out a lot of the other great White Sox podcasts out there. I just ask, hey, make me the first listen and listen to me every day because I'm here every day. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox. Also, follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the ideal trade partner, along with the Milwaukee Brewers and the Baltimore Orioles for the White Sox. I'm just going to throw that out there. Those are the three teams that I will be super excited about if the White Sox make trades. And they got players to trade. They got some guys to move to help get this team moving forward for the future, get some prospects. and hopefully they'll be competitive as soon as 2026. You get these prospects in now. 2025 maybe is a developmental year. Spend some money in free agency, and then boom, be ready to go in 2026, especially with the AL Central always being so weak. And the Dodgers, they tend to send teams good bats or very good pitching arms. And the Sox are already seeing some benefits from last year's deal with the Dodgers when the Sox sent Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly for pitching prospects Nick Nastrini and Jordan Leisure. Leisure made the team out of spring training. He was very good out of the bullpen at the beginning of the season. Started to struggle, had some adversity to the point where he was demoted because I guess the team had to see what Chad Kuhl could do rather than let Leisure pitch his way out of it, or at least give Leisure a little bit of more of a leash before sending him back to AAA. I don't know. But again, that's one of the frustrations of what the White Sox are doing with their young players this year. Nastrini had a very good big league debut for the Sox, but he has struggled with his command ever since. He got demoted after his second big league start, came back up again for a brief time, but he's back at AAA. But if he can figure out his command issues, he has a shot to be a very solid starting pitcher on the cheap for a franchise that doesn't spend money on pitching. So while I am a die on the hill, do not trade Garrett Crochet or Luis Robert Jr., I will not be upset if the Sox trade them to the Dodgers, as there are rumors that LA will swing for a big trade, especially since the San Diego Padres might be willing to do the same. And even if the Sox don't move Crochet or Robert Jr. to the Dodgers, pitchers like Eric Fetty, Michael Kopech could help the Dodgers, and Mookie Betts is out for a while. There is the thought that Paul DeJong would be a nice fill-in player for the Dodgers and then help, off the bench down the road. So the Dodgers would be a great trade partner. Maybe. Let's look if the Dodgers are the ideal trade partner with the prospects that they have. In terms of overall rankings of the system, Baseball Prospectus had the Dodgers farm system ranked 3 to start the season, down 1 spot from 2023. ESPN ranked them 8th at the start of the season. Their system was 6th according to ESPN in 2023. Baseball America put them 10th at the beginning of 2024. Huge drop, as they were the number 3 system according to Baseball America in 2023. MLB Pipeline has just 2 of the Dodgers prospects in their top 100, both position players though, and the Sox need position players in their system. However, their top prospect, Dalton Rushing, is a catcher / first baseman. He's their top prospect at number 49. And Josu, hopefully I pronounced that right, DePaula, he's at number 79, and he's at high A ball. So this is where they may not be the best trade partner, as Rushing would fit the Sox' desire for a high caliber hitting prospect close to the majors, as he's at Double A. But the problem is the Sox have a catcher in Corey Lee. He's at least going to be the backup catcher for at least the next 6 years on the cheap. And the catcher of the future is already in the system in Edgar Quero. He's at Double A, and he is the 93rd ranked prospect, and he is raking. Now, Rushing could play first, but Andrew Vaughn has been hitting much better. And if the Sox don't move him at the deadline, you have Andrew Vaughn on the cheap for a couple more years. And Gavin Sheets, if the Sox don't trade him, although he just left yesterday's game with a heel injury, he's going to need some playing time, either at right or first base or DH. But at the same time, the Sox just need hitting talent and to figure it out later. And with Eloy Jimenez on his way out, you could always, if Rushing rakes, DH him. And Rushing has a 261, 378, 477 slash line with 10 home runs in 55 games at Double A Tulane this year. DePaula, though, he has just made it to high A ball, but he's a left-handed bat with good tools, and he can get on base. He's got a career 407 OBP after being signed out of the Dominican Republic. I would love him in the Sox system because, again, they need more patient hitters. But in terms of the other hitting prospects the Dodgers have in their top 10, you got catcher Diego Cartara. Hopefully I pronounced that right. He's at number 7 ranked, and he's at AAA. He can hit for power, but that's about it. He did not have a good 2023 with a 189 average and a 657 OPS at AA. He's a little better this year with a 236 average and a 733 OPS at AA. and he just went to AAA. Does have a decent career OBP in the minors, and he does have 60 career home runs dating back to 2019 in the minors. But he could just be Corey Lee, so I'm going to pass on that. Thyron Lozano, he's the number 8 prospect. He's another catcher first baseman at high A, switch hitter with power. He had 24 homers at low A last year. He is hitting 226 with a 723 OPS at high A this year, but again, he's intriguing, and adding power can't hurt. Kendall George, he's at low A. He's the number 10 Dodgers prospect. He was their first round pick last year. Can run well, left-handed bat in the outfield. 283 average at low A, but not much slug at 317. And he doesn't have the greatest arm in the field, but with great speed, he can cover ground. And I mean, with Samuel Zavala struggling to find his game in A-ball, it can't hurt to add another outfield prospect with some skills to seeing if they can help down the road. But pitching is what is highly viewed in the Dodgers system. And Fangraphs thinks River Ryan is actually the Dodgers' best prospect. He is number 4 according to MLB Pipeline in the Dodgers system, but he's injured right now. You got Nick Frasso. He's considered the Dodgers' best prospect according to MLB Pipeline, and he's their number 3 overall prospect. He's at AAA. You also got Kyle Hurt at AAA, and he's number 5. But again, the Sox are pretty set at starting pitching. So it's kind of like, do you just keep adding talent for the sake of adding talent, which I think they should? And also, are the Sox going to be like, you know what, let's just get the best players available. We got to ditch trying to get position players. We'll get them in the draft. Because again, the Dodgers have some scratch-off prospects that are hitting, that are positional players. You got shortstop Emil Morales. He's 17. Jesus Telirio. He's a right-handed pitcher at 18. Joe Hendry Vargas. He's an 18-year-old shortstop. And the Dodgers have 9 prospects in their top 30, 9 times, that are under 20 that the Sox could gamble on. And most of them are position prospects. But that's where their position prospects are. They're not really close to the major league level. So they'd be scratch-offs. But hey, do it. Get high ceiling players in your system. Well, speaking of taking on a gamble, but in this case losing, the Sox lineup faces Chris Sale today, the team's former ace who they traded away last decade to start off a rebuild that yielded just 2 playoff wins. Let's discuss just how badly the Sox lost that trade next. Locked On White Sox. This episode of Locked On White Sox is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about rival cities. Next week, the White Sox travel to Cleveland for a 3-game set. The Sox have actually beaten the Guardians, so it might be worth it to travel to Cleveland of all places. See the White Sox possibly be competitive? Check out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. Booking.com, Booking.yeah has great choices for you to select from on where to stay. Maybe Miami is more your style. Party on South Beach. And then watch the Sox actually have a shot to win since the Marlins are having a rough season. The White Sox go there after the Cleveland series. Booking.com can help you make a weekend out of it with the choice spots to lay your head after a fun night at the game and on the beach. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. And LinkedIn is more than just a place to look for your next dream job, showcase your skills, or network to make that big career move. LinkedIn can also help you close deals and improve your sales. That's right. LinkedIn can assist with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with people that matter. And how will LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you filter through 1 billion people? Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job change or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a $60 free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. And the White Sox and the White Sox and the Braves played an early season series where the final game was rained out. The makeup game is today. Chris Sale is starting for the Atlanta Braves. First pitch is set for 3:10 p.m. Central. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Welcome back into Lockdown White Sox. Appreciate you everydayers for sticking around. Really enjoyed the comments on the YouTube page. Got some emails too. One second. Excuse me there. So let's keep the conversations going. Let's keep building this community, folks. We're in this together. It's going to be a bad season. Well, it is a bad season, but it's going to get even worse after the trade deadline. So I'm here for you, folks. Plain and simple, the White Sox lost the Chris Sale deal they made with Boston on December 6, 2016. The Sox traded their ace after the team could not find a way to put a winning roster around him and Jose Quintana, who developed into pocket aces. Losing that deal should impact how the White Sox go about trading Garrett Crochet, as the Sox cannot lose that trade if they move their current ace. It's hard to acquire an ace pitcher. It's even harder to develop one. And the Sox did that with Sale when they drafted him in the first round, and he became one of the best pitchers in baseball. And the Sox are doing that right now with Crochet, again, a former first-round pick. They started him out in the bullpen, and like Sale, he's now on the same career trajectory. And the Sox badly lost that deal with Sale. And I know it was 8 years ago, but they cannot repeat history. They must win this deal if they trade Crochet. Otherwise, use how you lost the Sale deal as a caution of why maybe you should extend Crochet. Maybe you give him even under a team-friendly deal. So in case you do eventually have to trade him, you can still get a great return, because one of the nice things about Chris Sale was he was on such a team-friendly deal. Sale went to Boston, and he won the World Series. The Sox for a time also looked like a winner, with Yoan Moncada showing promise and Michael Kopech as well. But Moncada's injury history, as you and I well know, wiped out any hope that he'll be a long-term mainstay in Chicago. And Kopech was so bad as a starter that he got demoted to the bullpen, and he's been shaky at best. And now he needs a change of scenery probably to fulfill his potential. And Moncada's option will not be picked up next season. It's just too much money for an injury-riddled player. And those two issues with those two players are part of the reason the White Sox rebuild failed. Kopech never became the ace pitcher his potential promised. Moncada's injuries never allowed him to continue to be a consistent player. And the Sox were relying on Moncada, Robert Jr., and Eloy to keep him competitive, and too many injuries. And now the Sox face Sale after he was eventually sent to the Braves, and he's been pitching well this year. So is Ronaldo Lopez. Another former Sox pitcher is also doing great. And it shows you leave the Sox, good things happen. And the Sale deal is a cautionary tale that while you can have hope the White Sox will get better if they move Crochet, the deal could break against you. And then you find yourself with just 21 wins after the midway point of the season. Well, that wraps up this edition of Lockdown White Sox. Before I go, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Lockdown Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories without all that screaming. Lockdown Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Lockdown Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll be back tomorrow to discuss the Sox upcoming series with the Colorado Rockies. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page at Lockdown White Sox. Turn on those notifications as well, or follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts. And feel free to leave comments about today's topics regarding the Dodgers making the White Sox look inferior, the prospects the Dodgers have to trade with the Sox in a potential deal, and the White Sox losing the Chris Sale deal. You can leave them at the episode page on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, at Todd J. Dub or at Locked On Sox, or you can email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.